Hey guys, Paul with BIKESKINZ.com, and of course check us out on Facebook.com/BIKESKINZ. And today we're going over a couple things about custom designs. I quote a lot of custom designs, and I would say a good percentage of people actually use us when we do a quote for them, and it's probably because they see the quality of our work, but also they're not quite understanding the experience of custom design. So I want to walk you through that a little bit. A lot of people have kind of a concept, like this person had a Darth Vader concept they wanted to put together, and the one they sent, like an example, was pretty weak. It looked really cut and paste. I'm like, I think we can do something that's pretty good, a little more dynamic, and then the design will kind of flow together and draw your eye in. And so a lot of times with these custom designs, I can just tell they're going to be easier because what they sent me looks so rudimentary. I can know that I put something together and they're really going to like it. And then sometimes there's a few designs that come in that I'm like, this one's going to have to be quoted a little bit higher because I can see a lot of the work that's going to be involved with it. So, for example, here's a custom design quote that kind of came in. I was first talking via email, and then was talking via phone, and then we went to email, and you can see there's a lot of correspondence, kind of maybe over a month, and then each one of these emails has a different image in there. And I've pulled up the folder here. I've selected out a few different designs, comps, but this is all for the same customer. And what we did was we walked through some of these design concepts that they kind of had. They were like, hey, um, let's see what one looks like with a topographical map. Let me open this up with Photo Viewer so I can scroll through some of these. I was like, well, that may have a lot of contrast, and it's going to be harder to work in those other images of soldiers and aircraft that you're wanting to do because it's going to be competing with the busyness of the design. We'll kind of throw some comps together and let them kind of see what they're talking about. Then we quickly switch to a black and white version, which kind of makes it look more stealthy. And it also makes the different elements not compete with each other quite as much. Then we slowly went to like a Black Hawk feather version because the map was just a little too busy. And then they always had a feeling of maybe having a hawk's eye on the tank, like the whole bike is a hawk. So to sell that, we really went to the black feathers. And of course, each one of these aircrafts are unique as well in what they're doing. There's people zip lining off, and there's different specific aircrafts in the comps. So we had to change up positioning of that. Comp images that were sent back and forth, detailed different areas on the bike. What elements are in there, how dark or how light they are. So this is one that was a little bit more complicated. And when we go through all these images, we're especially for cruisers, like in the front fairing. I mean, it's such a huge mural. It's a big area, so a lot of people want to put stuff on there. And we sometimes get exact sizes and measurements from the customer, and then we do a comp, like preview mock-up of that. And so really in all that work of going back and forth and taking our time with the customer, making sure everything is right, showing previews of everything, doing unlimited changes. If you've ever got a quote from BIKESKINZ before, it's not just a one and done thing. When I say one and done, that's a concept. A lot of people have not had custom work done before. So if you're doing woodworking or tattoos, it's you talk about it and you show a few sketches, but then what the end result is, that's kind of what you're stuck with, especially with a tattoo. If it's woodworking, I mean, you could start with another piece of wood and just start over. But with a tattoo, it's often you see a sketch that's drawn. Maybe you physically go down to the tattoo studio and they may draw something for you while you wait. So that's a controlled environment. Where I'm working from a not controlled environment, so people are just emailing me, and they may be really serious about a design and they may not be. So what I often do is I'll quote and then take a 50% deposit because we don't have a way to quickly do sketches, and we don't have the customer waiting in our office ready to spend money. They're just reaching out. So what we do is we normally go through all the elements of what they want, and then we quote a total amount and take a 50% deposit, because when we're working up these previews, these are full res render previews. So the artwork that you see here is the actual artwork that's on the design. So to set all this stuff up, there's a lot of artwork creation time involved, and it's really kind of unlimited until the customer is happy with the design, because we're just working on digital images here. So that quote involves us being committed to you to get the design exactly like you want it before we print it and before we collect the final 50%. So it's kind of the best way to do it, especially with how extensive some of these are. And then what we do is we adjust that quote based on, in our 15 years experience, based on, or excuse me, 20 years experience, based on how complicated we see the design being. So a design like this that has lots of elements, I think there was maybe 12, maybe 10 different aircrafts, lots of different elements. Some of the stuff on there, like the numbers, had to be photoshopped off, things like that. Also things that are custom illustrated. So if you just want a character from online and we can get it and cut it out, that's fine. But if the character is doing anything specific that we can't find online, like a certain pose, we had one guy wanting a Grim Reaper shooting a bird. Well, you really can't find too many Grim Reapers flipping the bird on Google Images. Now with AI, you maybe could generate something like that. And AI has kind of helped speed up the process of what we can show to customers too, because we can get a few working concepts of imagery out to the customer pretty quick. But then most of the time we have to take that AI image and create a montage from scratch with the elements that are in the image. We recently did a leprechaun theme that was similar to that. We were able to use some of the imagery from the AI, but then we had to up-res some things and change elements on the leprechaun, like his certain things with his hand gestures or his necklace or things like that. I think it was like maybe smoking a cigar, so that all had to kind of be custom illustrated. Those kind of things can greatly change the amount that's quoted to you. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of go over some of this stuff in a video so it kind of makes more sense, and then people will maybe feel a little bit more comfortable with giving the 50% deposit, because they kind of realize how we work and then what's required. Any other questions, give us a call. Our phone number is on our site. You can reach out through Facebook, and you can also send us an email, bikeskins@bikeskins.com. Thanks.